What's up, boys? Today, as you read in the title, we are going to be beating Pokemon Brick Bronze, but I can only use Fairy-type Pokemon. This challenge has been requested numerous times because you guys absolutely hate me, but here we are doing it. To do this challenge, we will be using the all-time GOAT, which is W. Without further ado, you guys, let's play. So we wake up and head to the professor's lab, and while choosing either Fennekin or Popplio would seem like the ideal choice here, I decided it would be funny if I used my all-time least favorite Pokemon, Chikorita. For those who don't know, I am a D1 Chikorita hater because I think it is the worst Pokemon to ever have a starter as, and I am so upset that it is a starter in Legends EA because, like, why are you using two Gen 2 starters in your Game Freak? Like, what the? Okay, sorry, I got carried ahead. Let's continue. I fittingly named Chikorita Trash before I went to Route 1 and was about to enter Crescent Town before Jake stopped me for some unsettling news.
Butch, I should have told you this sooner, but I really want your Glizzy 9000.
After that unsettling news, we entered Crescent Town and were greeted by this lady who took us to her house. I'm about to get lucky tonight, boys, before she went on to steal my necklace. I chased her into Gale Forest and managed to evolve Trash into even more trash before we fought the lady and got her necklace back, letting us proceed into Silvent City. Entering Silvent City, I grinded raids to give Trash an advantage before I went to fight the leader. Here's how I did. And just like that, we now have one gym badge. I caught a Marill on Route 4 before going into Route 5 and catching an Impidimp at the graveyard. We had a fight with Jake when Marill evolved afterwards, before we entered Brimmer City. Entering Brimmer City, we find out that Team Eclipse has stolen the red orb to summon Groudon, and after confronting them, they get scared off by Groudon. The orb gets retrieved, which means we can now go fight the leader. Here's how that went. with that, we now have 2 gym badges. Entering Route 7, I caught a Ralts and both Trash and Ralts managed to evolve before we encountered these Biroofs blocking this bridge, where we have to fight the Lumberjacks before their boss comes to make them clear it up. I proceeded into Route 8 where Impidimp evolved before I went into Roscoe City. Entering Roscoe City, we find out that Team Eclipse is once again back and this time to summon Kyogre. Curly evolves into Gardevoir before we confronted Team Eclipse. They go on to summon Kyogre and get blasted off, now allowing us to go fight the gym leader. Here's how it went. With that, we now have 3 gym badges. I met with Jake and Tess and easily fought them both when Morgrim evolved into Grimmsnarl. Going into Route 10, we encountered this Absol who started warming up to us before Jake and Tess scared it off. They go on to tell us that we have to go through Kogrono's cliffs to get to Anthon City, and after doing so, we gather again to make our way there. Arriving into Anthon City, we have a boring dialogue session with Gerald, and after being set free, I went to grab a hoverboard and as well as a Mega Gardevoir stone for later. Afterwards, I proceeded to the gym to take on the leader. Here's how it went. And just like that, we now have 4 gym badges. Leaving the gym, we see Team Eclipse's airship fly by and I meet with Tess and Gerald to find out that Jake's dumbass went to to go take them on and got kidnapped. Come on, Jake, you can hardly beat random trainers in battle. We go to the sewers to get to the park and confront them before we learn a crazy plot twist that I've definitely not gone through a billion times now. We have a fight with Professor Cypress, and after, they leave us behind to blow the place up. Dialga and Palkia come out of nowhere and take us back in time to when the bombs are planted, and we have to fight with that admin as well. We get sent back to the present like nothing ever happened and continue to Route 11 to get to Aidia City. Entering Aidia City, Team Eclipse is once again back and trying to steal jewels from the gym. They run off as soon as we confront them, which now lets us be able to take on the gym leader. Here's how we did. Like that, we now have 5 gym badges. I then proceeded into Route 13 to make way to Furuma City. Arriving into Furuma City, I redeemed a code that gave me a shiny Iron Valiant. Is this cheating? I then went to the 6th gym and did the puzzles before I went to go take on the leader. Here's how we did. And just like that, we now have 6 gym badges. After we beat the gym, we proceeded into Route 14 where we came across Team Eclipse and I learned a crazy discovery. After finding out that Jake's on Team Eclipse, we have a fight with him before continuing to Route 15 to continue towards Frostville City. After arriving into Frostville City, I immediately went to the gym to take on the naked gym leader. Here's how it went. And with that, we now have 7 gym badges. Only one more to go. We arrived in the Port Deco where we learned that we'll have to get to Crescent Island via boat, but Tess leaves us behind, which will force us to surf our way there. Coming into Crescent Town, we learn that Tess followed a Team Eclipse member into a bar, and upon following her tracks, we pull some juice kegs which reveal Team Eclipse's secret base. We find the admins taking our parents away, and upon confronting them, we find that Tess has also been captured. They leave us with Jake and we have one last fight with him, before he goes on to tell us they will be summoning Hoopa at the Demon's Tomb. Before that, however, I went back to catch a Tinkatuff and evolved it before catching up with Team Eclipse at the tomb. They go ahead with their plan and we have one last fight with Professor Cypress. Jake ends up throwing him into the portal before this goofy scene plays. Rest in peace, Jake. We have a chance to catch Hoopa, but we obviously must stay true to the challenge, and so we run. We go back with our parents, but immediately headed back to Crescent Town to go on to fight the gym leader. Here's how we did. Finally, we now have all 8 gym badges. But wait, we're not done yet. Oh no. We have to take on the Elite Four now. So I went to Victory Road and managed to skip all the trainers, including Tess, before I finally made it to the Elite Four. After long trial and error, I beat all 4 members before I finally got the chance to take on Champion Brad. Here's how I did. Now, before I thought I had won it all, Lando comes out of nowhere and has an insane fight with us, but Tinkaton came in absolutely clutch.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh!
And just like that, we now have officially beaten the Fairy type challenge. Thank you all for watching.